All right, well, the Yankees win 9-0 finally, right? Our offense finally shows up. Clarke, Schmidt, 7 no-hit innings, 7 Ks, 2 walks, ERA down to 284. His last 7 starts, 167 ERA, 14 walks, 40 Ks. His whip is 093. Jake, I didn't realize it was so hot on X. I wasn't there for it, but didn't realize people were so mad about the end of this game with who we brought in. I know, obviously, like you were somewhat frustrated by it. I didn't care just because of the score. But we'll talk about that, right? Obviously, what happened offensively. Luis Heel throwing to live hitters, right? That's a good thing. We were talking about how much time he would have to build up. Well, if he's ready to go to pitch to live guys, you'd have to imagine it's not going to be much longer. He's recovering from a high-grade lat strain suffered in spring training. So like I said, offense scores 9 runs, right? Bellinger played, thank God, should have. Ben Rice goes upper deck, drives in 2, having led off. Grisham hits his 15th homer. Ascara, Jake, before we went live, you said you wanted to talk about JC and what he's doing, and we're still beating the drum on Uber driver. I think he's long removed from it, right? And last but not least, we don't want to cover this up. It's not in our best interest. It's in no one's best interest. Anthony Volpe, 3-hit night, and I hesitate to say night. This game was played in the day, but Anthony Volpe, he had 2 bleeders today, but he also left the yard, right? Opposite field, a great swing. We have to bring that up. And it begs the question, I know that there was supposed to be, at least Aaron Boone told us, that there was going to be a day off this weekend. I think none of us would have been opposed to that. But now that he had 3 knocks, does anybody feel differently about that? We're going to talk about it. Jake, how we doing?
We're good. I mean, 9-0, great win. There's some good and there's very minimal bad, but I will say, and, it is the topic, did Aaron Boone destroy Clarke Schmidt's no-hitter? I think it is an interesting question. I know a lot of people feel that way. Personally, I'm going to give my stance. You'll give yours. This is how we work. But I got to be honest with you. I'm not upset that he pulled Clarke Schmidt. I'm not. We've talked about it. I am not going to be a hypocrite. I've said over and over again, the biggest issue with Clarke Schmidt is health. So I have no issue with them pulling it, right? None. I have an issue with Aaron Boone not taking it seriously. This is a no-hitter. This is history. If you're going to pull him, and obviously combined no-hitters aren't like the greatest things in sliced bread. They're not. But there's still something. And it still kind of, coincides with what Clarke Schmidt accomplished, right? Well, he puts in JT Brubaker. I have no issue with JT Brubaker personally. I have no issue with JT Brubaker down the road. I like that they acquired him when they did. They like his stuff. They've stuck by him. I'm happy he got out on a mound for the first time since 2022. I just don't feel like this was the right game for that. I felt like that was really kind of a slap in the face to the accomplishment that Clarke Schmidt made today. And I felt like it wasn't that hard. He could have put out somebody who could have given him 6 outs in more of a likelier manner. If you put out Mark Leiter Jr. or somebody like that and they gave up the no-hitter, I'm not sitting here complaining about it, but I just think the optics look pretty shitty putting in a player that hasn't pitched in the bigs since 2022 to protect a no-hitter. And I understand there are going to be people that disagree with me. There are going to be people that say it's not a big deal, we won the game. And there are going to be people that make the argument, hey, it's 9-0. Like, when is he going to be able to put in his mop-up guys? And I'm not saying that I disagree with you in that sense, but today wasn't the right day. I just think, what Clarke Schmidt went out there to do, what he accomplished, you're not letting him see it through. The least you could do is have his back and throw out somebody there that has pitched since 2022. And I didn't agree with it. So again, I'm not necessarily saying that, this is going to be something that I'm steaming about forever. I'm not going to just throw this in Boone's face. This has nothing to do with who Boone is as a manager. I just think in today's game, that decision, while I agree with it, I felt like he could have followed it up in a better way. And the last thing I'll say is this, Gary, because I have to make mention of it. It's not just Boone either. And Brubaker was fine aside from the single he gave up to Gary Sanchez. But I also think the umpires need to get that call right. He swung. He did. That's just the reality of it. And if we're not getting, simple things like that right, we had it the other night. with Joe Adele. I mean, comically bad stuff for guys that seem to have this ego like they're the best thing since sliced bread. I'm actually really sick of it. The replay yesterday was abysmal. It's been abysmal, but it just kind of goes to show you, it just seems like no matter what happens in a win, in a loss, the Yankees continue to get the short end of the stick. And today, you could argue it cost them a chance at a no-hitter.
Yeah, so my opinion on it today, and like you said, we're obviously able on this show to have two different opinions. We don't chalk up our opinions and walk into our podcast and tee it up the way that maybe ESPN or other broadcasts will do, right? We're not that way. I thought today was a perfect day for the Yankees. I did. The way I looked at it is that no matter which way you slice it, you're losing something, right? Clarke Schmidt, obviously you want him to be great. You want him to help us win a game. He did exactly that. He's pretty much been who he's been the last several weeks now. He's been dominant, and that's not something we expected, but we'll cover it. And he was so good today that we almost saw history. Now, pitch count was the only thing that took him out of this game. Aaron Boone talked about it post-game, and that made a lot of sense to me. But you mentioned, well, who you brought in to preserve history. I understand trying to go for history. I completely get it. But Aaron Boone also has to be aware that this month, the Yankees don't have, I think you mentioned it's next Thursday, the Yankees have their next off day. Now, I will tell you this. If you bring in somebody like Leiter Jr., right, you bring in someone you trust, someone that's in your inner circle that works a lot, if you bring them in to preserve history, more than likely they're going to give up a hit. Now, once they've done so, you're not going to be able to use them later on in the series or later this week where you have no breaks. And I'll tell you this. Couple days from now, if Aaron Boone runs out of steam in his bullpen, and I'm not saying you would using maybe 2 innings of work on a Saturday afternoon, but it could have an effect. And I think Aaron Boone just has a choice. Do I want to go for history that people probably won't remember? Or do I want to preserve our health, maybe in the short term, maybe in the long term? I thought personally Boone made the right choice. I didn't care about the combined no-hitter. I personally never have. And maybe some people in our audience do. But I think if Clarke was at 85 pitches coming out of this game, and we were making the argument of whether or not he should have stayed in there for the 8th and 9th inning, I would probably have a different tune because that in itself is history. It's memorable. But when I look up and see that a team had a combined no-hitter, it's really a nothing burger. I don't really consider it much.
I mean, totally fair. And again, I don't want to shortchange JT Brubaker. I thought he pitched well. I thought it was just the optics that really kind of bothered me, right?
Sure.
So that's pretty much that. We don't have to get too much into it. I mean, it is the thing everyone's talking about in a 9-0 game, whether it should be or not. So that's why it was today's title, today's prompt, today's thumbnail. But the reality is there are so many good things we can talk about. Grisham had 3 hits today. Ben Rice just missed another home run, had a home run earlier, and then he had a triple. Man, he really wanted that inside the Parker, didn't he? That was what I was like.
I won't even, honestly, he can't even get picky with what turns out. As long as the ball doesn't find a glove. Everyone knows, especially listeners to our podcast, we're not overly indulgent analytics, but when you watch Ben Rice, I mean, he's got some hard contact and just nothing to show for it. So for anything to be falling for Ben Rice, he's going to do damage. And you're seeing that he can run. He's got some legs. Underrated, by the way. It's underrated speed. I think he's actually probably, what do you think? He's 50-some percentile? I'm not even sure where he's at in terms of speed, but we know what the power
58. Is. He's above average. And by the way,
he can move for his size.
You know my rule is I like my catchers when they score from first. JC Escara, welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
I don't care. Like I it's something that I care about that not everybody can do. And Ben Rice is at 54 sprint speeds. Not bad.
Yeah, he can move. And anytime, if you look at a player and say he's slow, that's a station-to-station player. Ben Rice is not that. Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger. You look up and down. Jason Dominguez, right? If you see above average speed, it just brings a new dimension to the Yankees that they can potentially utilize down the road. It's definitely to the Yankees' benefit. And Yuri with the 5 with the super, thank you for that, Yuri. Greatly appreciate it. Said I would have given the bullpen a day off, in my opinion. Yankees need to find playing time for Rice. Best podcast. So we, again, Greatly appreciate it. And if you guys are new, we just actually implemented a new graphic to subscribe. We're going to utilize it today.
It's a game changer. Yeah, well, look at this. Whoa! I don't know why it looks like it was made in like what was it? Kid Pics.
I don't know. It looks like Mario 64. But anyways, as you can see, we do our own graphics here. It's not in the budget yet, but we really appreciate it again, Yuri. Thank you for that. And today was a day off for the bullpen. You don't expect to see Brubaker, right? And he's not going to be on the mound anytime soon in a big game for the Yankees. So they look at it and say, Leiter Jr. didn't pitch, Cruz didn't pitch, working back, right? Still trying to get 100% there from Cruz and get back to form, right? Devin Williams, day off. Luke Weaver pitched yesterday, didn't have it. Day off today, right? So it kind of, to your point, you want to have a day off, but you know what's so important about your bullpen having a day off? It's not just what Clarke Schmidt did today. It's what your offense does. This is the beauty of scoring. It's not just, we want to outscore people. No, putting up 9 runs in a day also provides you the leash to make decisions that are conservative in your bullpen, and it provides health long term. So, yeah, if you want guys to stay healthy, Yuri, I guess to your point, you want to give guys the day off in the bullpen. Well, you can thank guys like Ben Rice, right? And Cody Bellinger being in the lineup today. Anthony Volpe, what he did. That's part of the reason why we didn't use anybody.
Yeah. No, I really loved today. And I thought today was kind of like, okay, you lose yesterday. Tough game. You won the day before. If you look at it in the negative, they had lost 7 of the last 8. That's why today was so important to come out the way they did. Against I'm going to call him a good pitcher, Eflin. I mean, he's a good pitcher.
He's good against us, league. That's for
sure. Definitely good against the Yankees. And the Yankees just baptized him. I mean, we're talking about 10 hits, 6 earned runs. They just kept hitting solo shots. Think about this. If guys were on base, this thing could have been a bloodbath way earlier on. Ben Rice loved his at-bats today. Loved what Grisham looked like today. Really like what I saw out of Volpe and Escara and even Peraza on that bleeder single that knocked in 2. I mean, this is a team win. This is a 9-0 affair where Aaron Judge hit 2 jacks and there was like a sacrifice fly in there. Everybody had their hand in this, and those are the fun wins. And you did it without Stanton today. I didn't like not seeing Stanton in the lineup, but you did it without Stanton. So, it's a big deal. And Volpe, it's kind of funny. The whole day told a story. Volpe had that single that was like basically a swinging bunt. And even the third base guy, he was like, yeah, I'm going to wait for this to go out. And then it didn't actually go out of the line, and it wasn't foul. So, obviously you could see Volpe kind of, breathing a fresh sigh of relief. And then after that, you just saw he was more confident at the plate. I understand they try to make it sound like, oh yeah, Volpe doesn't get down himself. Did you hear that today? I don't care. Everyone gets down.
So he's not a human being. He's been atrocious. He's making big errors late in the game. There's no player who makes big errors at the end of games, doesn't hit it at all for several weeks, and is just like, oh yeah, I'm the same guy when I show up. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in office jobs.
Nope.
It doesn't exist for baseball players. It doesn't exist in football. If Peyton Manning throws 3 picks, I promise you, he shows up the following week thinking about, how do I get out of that? But you know what, Jake? If he throws 2 picks that next week, I promise you it's going to start to creep in. And we've seen that happen. They call it being shell-shocked, whatever you want to call it. You need to see something fall. You need to see some success to feel like you should actually be out there. Otherwise, you just feel like you're, in a way, you're hijacking the position. So Anthony Volpe had to have it. I love this super right here because it's just essentially riding on the concept of whether or not being hot or cold is a concept in New York. And that's going to be answered tomorrow, by the way. Another early game. John with the 2, thank you for that. Thank you for getting involved in this podcast. Says Rice, Volpe, Grisham will all be benched tomorrow. So obviously having some fun there with a projection. But so far of what the Yankees have done this year, they don't really look at what's happened the last several days. And then that's going to dictate who plays. The only player that I would look up and say, he seems to be getting credit for what's happened in the near past is Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham's a player where you say, okay, Aaron Boone wants to play him. Then you look up and you see, okay, he's in the lineup. Then he starts playing well. We started calling him Trent Bonds Grisham, right? We were having some fun with that. All of a sudden, you start seeing Trent Grisham finding himself in the leadoff and 2 spot. Now, people have been messaging me all week, right, about getting him out of the 2 spot, getting him out of the leadoff spot, and I've always been consistent. I don't really care where guys are in the lineup. Just put the right 9 guys in there. But having said this, Grisham seems to be in his position, in his role, based on what he's done in the near past. But then you look at other players like Anthony Volpe, and they said, he's been so bad, we're going to try and find a day off for him this weekend. And we said, oh, well, finally, you guys are going to make some sense of giving players a day when they need it, the key when they need it. And then you turn around and Anthony Volpe has 3 knocks. He finally has some momentum going in the right direction. Jake, do you sit Anthony Volpe tomorrow? I think he plays tomorrow. I play him and give him a reward for actually doing something. I don't just schedule a day off because he was bad 2 days ago. I reward him for what just happened. And you know what? If he shows you, okay, I'm right back down on the mat tomorrow, I'll try to find a day off for him.
I completely agree. I mean, I'm against, like, anytime these guys are hot, I'm keeping them in the lineup. You know? I mean, you can only
and I
put 9
hesitate
guys
to call
in
him
the lineup.
hot, right? Like, we're not trying to call him hot, but when you have 3 hits, I mean, Jake, you played baseball. I mean, anyone who's played Little League baseball, you can have a bad few weeks of baseball, and then all of a sudden you show up, you have a 4-knock day, you can't wait to get dressed tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
That's the way this game goes.
No, exactly. I mean, I don't really agree with taking him out of the lineup at all. I mean, the whole point of taking him out of the lineup was when he was 0 for 25, and now he just had 3 knocks, and you're like, okay. You know, and it's like, it's not just that either. Like, I would keep a Scar in the lineup tomorrow. I would. I
So
mean,
you like those at bats? I mean, Ascar so far offensively, I know that our staff's been talking about what Ascar does with the glove, and obviously we're not pitching. We have no idea necessarily what they're talking about. The analytics say he's a good catcher, but I'll tell you what, Ascara offensively, and this is sort of my assessment of our catcher's room this year, I think you can really chalk it up to we're going to have production from 2 catchers this year. That in itself is a good problem to have. That's good, especially at that position.
It's like having 2 goalies.
It really is. So what do you think? Is this about the bat? Because JC, I mean, his at-bats are next level.
I'm not trying to demote Austin Wells because I don't think he deserves to be demoted. But I do think this should be a timeshare. There's just no reason for it not to be right now. Ascara, what did I text you today? The idea that this guy can just come off the bench, play 1 game a week, and he always looks... He could go 0 for 4, but he always looks good at the plate.
Can I play devil's advocate, though? So you mentioned the fact that he only plays once a week, right?
Yeah.
He's essentially a spot starter. He gives Austin Wells. Austin Wells is the starter for this team. More times than not, you see his name in the lineup, regardless of how he's playing. But having said that, you mentioned that you always somehow, some way find a Scar. We saw him a day early, right? You plan on seeing him Sundays. But you look up and see a Scar on a Saturday evening, and you say, okay, he's good, and he doesn't play every day. So how is he able to stay in that type of rhythm? Well, we have also talked about some players, and Michael K's also alluded to this. You can be good in a starter's role, but then there's also guys. We saw Raul Ibanez, who played with the Yankees as well. He was really good in that bench role, in a role where he doesn't have to take at-bats. The ups and downs of a season, they in a way get to cherry pick your at-bats. They get to cherry pick matchups. So am I saying that JC couldn't chew a bigger bite? No, I'm not saying that. But part of me wants to think that there's potential that JC plays well in this role, and that's just what he is. Maybe the Yankees and Aaron Boone say, yes, he's a quality at bat. Yes, he's a great catcher. But if we gave him a larger role, it would diminish some of the, essentially some of the output.
I think I'm more concerned, though, like, to be fair, I'm way more concerned about Ben Rice being in the lineup tomorrow against another righty. So, like, if I have
you're concerned he doesn't play. Yeah.
I'm very concerned because Goldschmidt is not great against righties. He's just not. He's fantastic against lefties. We've talked about this, but he's also been struggling as of late. He had a couple, moments, but I mean, for the most part, he's been in a slump. He just dropped below 300. I do think when push comes to shove and you start to see what Goldschmidt's done, I'm not trying to flip flop here, but even that could turn into a bit of a timeshare, especially platooning them, because Goldschmidt has a below 700 OPS against right-handed pitching. So I feel like at this point, Ben Rice should play every day they go up against a righty. That's just my opinion.
The only way he does, though, is if he catches tomorrow. Because, mind you, you could say he should just play first base because Goldschmidt's not that good against right-handed pitching, right? Yeah. But having said that, Goldschmidt just sat today. So who's most likely to play tomorrow? And they call these timeshares good problems to have. It's usually Giancarlo didn't play today. Giancarlo will be in the lineup tomorrow. So DH is occupied. Okay.
Which
DH.
Today, of course, that was Judge. So
correct. So now Aaron Judge is going to be back out in the outfield. Grisham probably plays tomorrow. And then Cody Bellinger just sat yesterday. So now you assume, okay, Jason Dominguez will be off the field in terms of the outfield. And then you look up and say, well, how exactly is Ben Rice going to find his way in the lineup? Paul Goldschmidt's probably going to play. DH is going to be Giancarlo Stanton. You know what they're going to say? Well, sorry, Ben. You went upper deck. You drove in two. Thank you for your service. So I would love for Aaron Boone to find some solutions here. Again, we're not going to overly complain, but we do have to be cognizant of what's happened the last several weeks, not just today. The Yankees have to find a way to consistently field a lineup, the best 9 guys, and it seems like positionally they're struggling to do that. Today was a good day. It was a bright spot. I liked the lineup today. I had no problem with it. But what do you do off of that performance? What do you do to build a lineup based on what we saw today? Do they actually consider today's results when building Sunday's lineup? We're going to find out, but there are a lot of people, especially some of our super chats, that don't seem to believe that Aaron Boone cares at all about what happened today on a Saturday where we destroyed an Orioles team 9-0. You'd like to believe it mattered.
Yeah, all right, so I have 2 things I want to talk about. One, question for you. Do you feel like a manager kind of tempers the expectations, almost takes it with a grain of salt when everybody, it's a whole hit parade, it looks less impactful, it looks less impressive? Because my point is they had 14 hits today. So yes. Are you as Aaron Boone saying, man, Ben Rice had a really good day today, we got to get him in the lineup tomorrow? Or do you kind of succumb to the idea where, really everyone hit this? I don't think the guy was good on the mound today. I think our players did a nice job of taking advantage of it, but I don't think I should reward one single player just because there were 14 hits and he only had 2 of them. Yeah,
definitely. I think that you can look up and say, well, Jason Dominguez had a knock today, right? Let's just use his name.
Yeah.
If you'd watched every pitch today, Jason Dominguez's at bats popped off the screen. Deep counts, 3-2 every at bat, right? And you look up and say, scores 2 runs, and you think to yourself, that was a nice little performance from a 22-year-old, and he doesn't have to hit 3 homers every day, but watch the process. Am I seeing something that I can build on? And you watch that and say, absolutely. He did a lot today at the plate. And then all of a sudden you say, well, Rice had 2 knocks. Grisham had 3 hits, right? Bellinger had a hit. Chisholm had a hit. Volpe had 3. Escara had 2. Peraza had a knock. He drove in 2. So now suddenly are you hiding now amongst all that performance? Maybe. Maybe you do. Maybe you draw the conclusion that that arm just didn't have it today. We all just sort of got off. And so, yeah, I mean, at the same time, we've also seen 3-2 wins, 2-1 wins where a Cody Bellinger, I mean, we just saw it the other day where Cody Bellinger, off of a 3-hit performance, in a performance we had to have, he just shows up to the yard the next day and they're like, no, it's his day. It is his day. So we don't want to overly complain. Wild Man Samurai with the 10. Thank you for that. Wild Man says, I agree, Gary. We got the shutout and the bats woke up. So obviously just happy about the result. Not so much worried about the bullpen and all that. Gave the bullpen a rest. And now let's go on a winning streak. Go Yanks. Oh, and Jake, is it football season yet? Go Rams. So we got
It
a
is
Rams
not.
fan in here. It's not football season yet. Jake, I don't even know how Jake would do it. A baseball podcast and the Rams. Be wild.
Well, we did it. We did last year. I don't remember how we did it.
Devers homered against the Red Sox? No, he did not.
That's hilarious.
Apex, thank you for the 2. Thank you for always getting
Thank
involved.
you, Apex.
And then obviously a member of ours for the last 2 months, Noble Demon Tim. Thank you for that. Says Boone still a sucker and living reason.
L's versus Boston.
Oh, so essentially he's the reason we lost versus Boston. I mean, yeah, we covered that there were some mistakes that we made even when we showed up before first pitch. Some of the ways that we built our lineup, some of the ways that we utilize, and this is what I think the takeaway is. My whole takeaway on today's game, if you take anything from this podcast, from me, let it be this. The Yankees need to capitalize and utilize momentum. If momentum doesn't matter, well, then I guess all those managers, all those World Series managers that talked about getting hot in October, right? You heard those Giants team and what Bruce Bochy's talked about for years is that getting hot at the right time, utilizing momentum, right? And quality performance mattered the most to them. It allowed them to win 3 World Series championships. But what does that mean for us? Well, the Yankees have won a lot of regular season baseball games, okay? They just have. And whether that bothers people or not, I have no idea. But I will tell you, the Yankees don't seem to care. Clint Frazier, based on what he said in those interviews, the Yankees don't consider momentum. They don't consider the fact that a player is ice cold. They don't consider whether or not a player in Anthony Volpe was 3 for 4 today. So does Volpe play tomorrow? I think he should, Jake. I think he absolutely
100%.
should be on the field, and that's not smoke signaling we think Volpe's solved. All we're suggesting is that Anthony Volpe is a human being that is more ready to play tomorrow than he ever would be based on what happened today.
I agree. And Delio22, been a member for 2 months. We appreciate you. I could watch Ascara's Ken Griffey Jr. looking ass swing all day. That's one of my favorite super chats because it literally does look like that. And it's the way he worded it too. So appreciate you, Delio. Yeah, I could too. I mean, he's got the best swing on the team, as weird as that sounds to say.
That was me.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. We are doing a giveaway, so we'll shift over to that, and then I'll give you some interesting Paul Goldschmidt splits. So
Yeah, go ahead.
all right, so there it is. Photoshop on point there.
Yeah, we're giving you a jersey with a question mark on it.
Yeah, no,
That should be our merch right there. Yankees
obviously-
Unloaded question mark.
obviously, if you are subscribed, once we hit 10,000, we are almost at 7,000. So, and say what you will, you might be like, "Oh, they're not gonna get to 10,000. I'm never gonna get this jersey." Don't say that. We got the trade deadline coming up. Things get wild in July.
Oh, they have no idea who we've got slated for. We've got some great interviews.
yeah.
I think some interviews, some names that you guys will be shocked that are joining our podcast.
You'll be
Last
like,
year,
Yeah.
yes, we had John Morosi, right? Nightingale. We had some guys for sure, but we're stepping it up a notch this year. We're very excited to announce all that. Obviously, when we get it all locked in, we will announce it right away so that you guys aren't blindsided. We're not just going to pop in with somebody. We'll give you guys
We
a heads
should.
up so you know. What, just
we
pop
should
in?
just what like I think that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, by the way, here's Jeter.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, that is that. But yeah, obviously the giveaway is whatever jersey you want. It doesn't have to be pinstripes either. If you like the road jersey, that's my favorite. You can roll with the road jersey. So, yeah, think about who you're going to want and also be sure that you are subscribed. Okay. Paul Goldschmidt. So I actually have a way that I think I would manage a baseball team. I was thinking about this.
Okay.
I slept on this, right? So I would manage them by splits. See, we talk about analytics, right? And the whole idea is, over the course of time, they're going to be this more often than this. I actually think analytics get it wrong, and here's why. Because they use these sabermetrics and all this stuff. They use like OPS plus whatever. And that's great and all. Oh, yeah, when you don't factor in where they're hitting, you don't factor in the ballparks, okay, whatever. But it's as simple as this. If a player, and I'm not saying Paul Goldschmidt just, historically sucks in June. But if a player sucks in June and it's consistent and you have a 5-year sample size and you have a rotation where it's like, I don't know who I'm going to roll with this month because it's like, this guy's starting to hit well. Hit the guy who's hitting well and put the guy on the bench who sucks in June. It's really not a hard concept. That is how I would manage a baseball team. Paul Goldschmidt right now, and this is a large sample size. This is from June 1st to June 20th. Paul Goldschmidt, after literally having a batting average over 300 every single month, a 904 OPS last month, 835 in April, and then March, obviously only 3 games, 1200. Paul Goldschmidt currently has a 169 batting average in the month of June in 65 at-bats. Okay? He has a 532 OPS. Love the guy, right? And I've stood by him, and I'm not backing off him. But clearly June just isn't it for him. And right now, he's in a cold spell. And people could say, yeah, the thing that you need to do is keep playing that player so he can break out of it. No, I disagree. For whatever reason, it's a mental thing. Guys struggle in certain months. We've talked about this. Austin Wells was incredible in August. Incredible. He had a 320 batting average. This stuff is real, right? And then, you know what else I would do, Gary? I would incorporate splits that have players that are better in day games than night games. So today, I'd be playing guys who are better in day games. Why are they better in day games? Some guys see the ball better during the day. They just do. I was one of those people.
Starting, Giancarlo can't hit off the bench. He just can't.
Exactly. Pinch hitting. So that would be my rationale. That would be my thinking. I don't know where you are on that. I'm really curious to get your thoughts. But again, I'm not out on Goldschmidt. But I am saying tomorrow, I would sit Goldschmidt and I would play Ben Rice for this very reason.
Perfect. So you're using the long-term data to try and figure out more times than not, what am I going to get for the next 2 weeks? And then you'll build your lineup off of that.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just going to use a 1v1 comparison between players to determine who plays, right? And when I look at who are my must plays, and if I look up and I see your ops is 800, in my opinion, you should play. We should just find a way to get you in there. And I understand the very difficult part about this, and the wild card to all this is Giancarlo. Giancarlo just throws this all out of whack. And he's, again, you want him here because of what he can do in October, the threat of that. Great. But here in June, it is a problem. It is. So you look up and say, well, I want Ben Rice to have at-bats. You saw what he did today. And you look up and say, well, Paul Goldschmidt didn't play because of what he does against righties. There was no real reason. Ben Rice, the better player, with this matchup. So you go with that. So what that tells me is that every single time we face a right-handed pitcher, I should see Ben Rice in the lineup. I just should. And you also have to consider, well, there's some drawbacks to that. We also lose the defense of Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt's been a major upgrade defensively.
Yes.
So these are tough decisions. Then you say, well, how can I get Ben Rice in there? How can I get this bat in the lineup? Now, mind you, balls have not been falling, right? The way the analytics suggest that they would be for Ben Rice. You could say, oh, okay, well then how else can I get him in there? Well, either he's going to DH, play first base, or he's going to catch. Is there anyone in the room where I feel like their bat is significantly better than Ben Rice in the catcher's position? No, there's not, right? Ben Rice is absolutely our best choice if he can catch. Provided he can do that task, he's my catcher. I have him catching. And then when he needs a day off, obviously I have multiple options. I have 2. I have JC, I have Wells. I'm starting Ben Rice at catcher. That's just what I'm doing. I'm doing a 1v1 comparison between the 2 players. And then obviously if you give somebody at first base like Paul Goldschmidt a day off, now you can start to work these catchers in, right? Those are Ben Rice's days off behind the plate. They're utilized at first base or against left-handed pitching. Take your pick. And the rest of the guys, I just look at the outfield. That's the biggest equation for us. Who plays in the outfield? Trent Grisham's hitting. Whether you guys like it or not, he's hitting 2. He's now has 15 home runs in late June. If anyone told me, regardless of the player's going to have 15 home runs. He's going to be hitting 250 with an ops in the mid 800s. I'd say, oh, well, I don't know who that is, but obviously he's probably at the top of our lineup. He's probably playing every single day. Those counting stats just have to matter. They just do. And I understand the history of Trent Grisham. And like I said before, when you get these type of numbers, you should be able to draw a conclusion that this guy should be playing. So what does that mean? It means that Jason Dominguez is just out of luck. There you go. He's out of luck. And no matter what you say about his development, in comparison in a 1v1 competition, he shouldn't play over the other guys. I know what people will say about Trent Grisham. I get it. But if I saw Jason Dominguez hitting 249 with an ops of 833, what do you guys think I'd be saying? Trent Grisham shouldn't be. If the numbers were reversed, what would we be saying about Trent Grisham? He just shouldn't be out there. What, but once a week? Maybe if that? Jason Dominguez is a quality at bat. I believe he will develop 100%. But given the situation that we're in, if we're genuinely going to play the best players every single day, I'm telling you guys, it's Grisham, Bellinger, Judge. No one else should touch the field. They just shouldn't. And so people hear that and they think, oh, you think Dominguez sucks. Trust me, guys. I read our comment section. I saw multiple people saying that, like, oh, Gary thinks that we should trade Dominguez. Never said that.
Never said they hate Dominguez podcast. Did you see that one?
Yeah, they also hate Volpe, right? I'm just telling you guys, the players that play the best consistently should play. That's my only conclusion. That is it. And so when people say, well, what would you do with the outfield? What would you do at shortstop, second base? What would you do at third, right? Cabrera goes down. We bring in some young guys. Maybe we trade for a veteran. What would your answer be, Gary? Jake, what would your answer be? And I always come back to the same conclusion. I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to go out there and have a timeshare, provided no one's earned it. But you know what? When I look up and say, this guy's giving me X performance and this guy's giving me Z, I really want X performance, but I want to develop Z. To hell with it. Give me X. I need to see what this guy can do in pinstripes. And if you ride with the hot hand, I think this Yankees team can go a lot higher than maybe a lot of us are projecting, because we're sort of assuming that tomorrow's lineup is going to be a nightmare. I hope that Boone impresses us with tomorrow's lineup. I think what happened today, he should be able to build a quality lineup. It's right there for the taking, but we've seen crazier things with him.
It's right in front of us.
Right in front of us. There you have it. Thank you.
So I just went through, while listening to you, I went through each of the splits for night and day because I was curious. Everyone on the team is a day hitter. Like they're way better in the daytime, except for 2. This is wild. Jason Dominguez and Jazz Chisholm are better at night. I don't understand it. Like literally everyone on the team is better during the day, and not just better. Like aside from Judge and Stanton, if you look at his career, they're about the same player regardless if it's night or day. Congrats. Those are just great hitters, and you don't have to worry about like different variables. But a lot of these hitters are astronomically better during the day. However, Jason Dominguez has a 747 OPS during the night games, and during the day he has a 662. Jazz Chisholm actually has an 870 OPS at night, and during the day it's 702. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so at the very least, if they built a lineup based on this, you'd say, okay, well, they're tracking based on the data. Like it's the stats. So again, that's riding the hot hand. If Ben Rice destroys right-handed pitching, right, does nothing against left-handers, and then tomorrow you see a lefty, what should we all conclude? Oh, Ben Rice won't play. That would be it. You just say Ben Rice won't play, and then you don't have to say, what's Boone thinking, and freak out. You can just say, well, Ben Rice isn't playing because he doesn't hit lefties well. But I personally think he'll develop if you let him play through that, right? We can all have our own personal opinions, but as long as the data reflects the decision, we can't complain, right? We're not the managers. We don't make the decisions. But it feels like tomorrow Stanton will just play because he didn't play today, and that's what we're going to conclude. Yeah. And then you just sort of assume you're worried that Ben Rice won't play tomorrow. You're worried. Genuinely.
I'm genuinely concerned because if there was a guy that needs at-bats, it's Ben Rice. See,
so it's teed up for him to start at catcher tomorrow. If all things go perfect, he catches tomorrow.
I think that's the move. Wells hasn't been great as of late. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the move. I mean, Ben Rice is really interesting, though, because his splits are better. His splits are astronomically better during the day. And tomorrow's an 11:35 a.m. game. Sorry. I don't know if you knew that. It's on Temu.
I've been getting into I've been
Roku.
getting into Love Island. I was up till like 3:30 in the morning last night watching this. I guess it's gonna be a short night for me. I gotta wake up at 8:30 in the morning to watch baseball. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And you also have to watch it on Temu. I mean Roku.
Yeah. They're trying to grow the game. I've long been saying, and I know this isn't baseball, it's the coverage of it. I've been saying, they're like, oh no, this is great for the game. This is great.
No, it's not.
And because we're going to get it on Amazon, we're going to get it on Apple, we're going to get
the
it on
only
ESPN.
thing that's great is we get Matty V tomorrow. That's it. That's the only thing that's great. Matt Vasgersian is one of my favorite broadcasters. So, but now I don't get
what's he doing on Roku?
Michael K. I don't know. What I will say, my dad has always said this. Why do I have to literally have a guide to tell me where to watch? Why is it that in my group chat with my family, my mom has to text me every night, hey, which channel are the Yankees playing on? Which streaming service are the Yankees playing on? Why are they not just always on Gotham? And then like when they're on TBS, they're always on Gotham. Why can't we just have that? Where if you have Gotham, or yes, which is Gotham sucks. I hate the app so much. Gary,
oh yeah, you're way behind. I actually kind of love it.
I'm behind by a
You're like,
full
oh,
inning.
let's go. I'm like, oh wow, you just saw that? Yeah, Jazz hit a home run like 3 at bats ago.
Yeah, you just like shit all over my life.
Yeah,
because you'll just be like, yeah. So Jazz is out. Like, Jazz is out. I'm 2 batters behind you. But no, all jokes aside, or not jokes aside, the app's not good. But the point being though, is that you have to go through all these hoops. It's like, oh, well, you need Amazon Prime, which, by the way, Gary, I have every streaming service. My family has every streaming service. Okay, I don't care. Like the only one
Crack
is
Streams. That's the streaming service I've got. I'm 31 years old. I'm definitely young enough to have Roku, Apple TV, Peacock, all the different crap that you can have. And everyone, mind you, we only got to this. If you actually think of how we got here, everyone was tired of paying $200 a month for DirecTV and all these different companies. And they're like, we're pulling the plug. This is too expensive. I'm not getting the channels I want. I'm not paying for all this crap. They get rid of it, right?
Now you're
and the
paying
next
for
thing
all
you
this
know,
crap.
you're paying for, now you need to have Disney Plus. Now you need to have Amazon. Oh, lucky me, I have Apple. And so I'm able to watch this game. Gary, aren't you happy that you have an iPhone so you can go and watch the game today? I was like, well, if it wasn't on this platform, I would just be able to watch it anyways on MLB TV. That's what I want. I want to be able to turn on MLB TV and in a very, very rare instant, you put it on national coverage and you're talking about like Fox. Hey, give me 1 or 2 variances of coverage. There's like 7. That doesn't grow the game at all. I know you were talking about Matt Vasgersian. I like the guy. I'm not jumping to 8 different platforms to listen to Matt Vasgersian. Bring Matt Vasgersian to me. That's all I'm
with you on that. I'm not a fan of it being on Roku at all. Ed W with a great comment here. What did the splits say about 11:30 a.m.?
It says that the splits say that Gary will miss the first 4 innings. That's what the splits say. And I'm gonna have to watch a condensed YouTube edition of this game. It's crazy. So I don't know what the splits say. You never see these times, by the way. I almost said tea time.
It is.
This is the tea time.
No, this is one of those games where if you had a tea time, you're going to miss almost half the game. Unless you have a tea time at like 4 a.m.
8:30 a.m. tea time. I'm the type of person who's always on time. I'm never late to anything. So for for a baseball game to start at 8:30 in the morning Pacific is diabolical. It is.
Yeah.
And it's not good for me at all. I know it's better for older people because they wake up at like 5 in the morning.
General
so this
body
is
fatigue.
fine. Yeah, this is fine for them. But I will tell you, there are going to be a lot of young people who miss the first 5 tomorrow. There will be. I might even be one of those people. Who knows?
No, I'll get up in time. Obviously, it's going to be 11:35, so I'll be fine.
That's your wake up time, literally.
But this is why I'm not excited to watch the Rams and Jaguars in London, because I'm gonna have to get up at like the ass crack of dawn just to watch, and then I'm gonna have to go live at like after the game at like 11. So yeah.
I mean, if we win, these are great days for baseball. When you play an early baseball, even now, right? It's 2:30 Pacific, right? 5:30 Eastern. When you win,
I have grown on these games, but the 11:35, let's keep that to like one a year. Oh, and by the way, do you remember the last time they played at 11:35?
No, I actually don't.
On Roku?
I feel like. Well, I was on crack streams, but who did we play?
This team.
Oh, it wasn't Detroit. I feel like we played Detroit
it was the
at that time.
Orioles, and it was the game where freaking Alex Verdugo fell down.
Oh, that was the game. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Wow. Oh man.
Ed W with the super says, thank you for the 5, Ed. He says,
Thank
Jake,
you, Ed.
get on the train and be our guest at a game 10 a.m. brunch at Audi. So,
Audi.
yeah, you've got an open invitation to brunch. I've got no train from Phoenix, Arizona to New York. You know,
Damn.
depending on how big the podcast gets, I don't know, maybe we will open a studio in New York.
That'd be
we've been
cool.
thinking about trying to put a billboard up there, but then I saw how much it costs, and I was like, well,
We were thinking about it, but I mean, I think about being a millionaire too. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be a millionaire the next day.
you never know. But I mean, I feel like the chances might be higher for us to be millionaires with this podcast than it is to put up a billboard. It was like $6,000 for a week. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Obviously, it's a
man.
write-off for these big companies, major corporations, but we are, privately owned
Is it
company.
an
We are
electric
not
one?
that.
Or is it
Oh
just
no,
like they
no, it
paint
was
it
one.
on?
No, it was one with graffiti on it and just garbage. you know how it was in the Bronx.
Oh,
It
okay.
was.
Well, I mean, that's
yeah.
where you would want it. So
Yeah, which
that
it
makes
is.
sense.
But by the way, I'll never forget. My wife and I. This is literally before my daughter even came into this world, and I'm sitting there. I told my cousin to come pick me up from Yankee Stadium, and sure enough, we were the last people at Yankee Stadium. Right, just waiting out front. I was terrified. I was out there by myself, dude. I thought I was gonna get jumped. It was horrible. I was waiting for my cousin. He was like an hour. He showed up an hour and 15. They literally kicked me out of Yankee Stadium because I was meandering around the concourse by
Oh my
myself. There was
God.
nobody in there. Yeah, it was nuts.
That's wow.
Oh, can we get to this super? Because this is great. I'm gonna tee it up for almost a follow-up question. I rarely ever do this.
I don't know why they're asking. I mean, clearly Louis Seal.
I hate you. CBA with the 10. Thank you for that,
Appreciate
CBA.
you,
Thank you
CBA.
for getting involved. Says, who should Cashman add at the deadline? So, yes, as Jake jokingly said, Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, very
hated that.
typically they showed up and said, well, if you look at what happened today, we saw live hitters from Luis Heel. Those players, obviously players you'll never see because they're not good. They were blown away by Luis Heel, a player who won Rookie of the Year last year. No surprise, but we're happy to see him healthy. Now, they're going to look at this as a deadline pickup. Brian Cashman said earlier this year, pitching, as his answer of what the Yankees are going to do. Now, we need to essentially ask ourselves, all the areas that you want the Yankees to get better at, do they have any reinforcements coming? If the answer is yes, do not be confident that the Yankees are going to make the trade you're looking for. If you thought, and Jake thought this, and I can't say he thought we were doing it, but he thought it was a good idea, that Freddie Peralta, let's just say if the Milwaukee Brewers fell off a cliff and they were selling, he would be a great pickup for the Yankees. He would really solidify this rotation, I believe, as well. I would agree with you, Jake. But here's the problem. If Luis Heel is actually getting healthy, do you trust that the Yankees would really be that aggressive at that position? I personally don't see it. I also don't think if the Yankees bullpen is somewhat healthy, they'll make any major additions to that group either. I think they'll probably bring in like a lefty specialist, someone to help out Tim Hill over there, like to come out the pen. But other than that, the only position, CBA, that I can imagine the Yankees will add at the deadline is getting more sure things in the infield, on the infield surface. Third base, probably second base, a guy maybe that's a hybrid, as Jake just mentioned, IKF. He can bounce around. He's won a Gold Glove at third. We know he's played short. He can play second base. It gives us some more depth. That's my guess as to how the Yankees are going to use their deadline. They're going to bring in some type of lefty specialist, maybe a guy with quality analytics, with a right-hander with bad numbers. They bring in a position player that can start every now and again in the infield.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of these three guys that they get in the infield. I think it's either going to be IKF, Suarez, or Moncada. I may have thrown Moncada in there just to piss off that one dude that's like, well, stop talking about Moncada. He's always hurt. So there you go.
Everyone's always hurt at this point. I mean, who's not always hurt?
It's funny you say that because the thing that was actually kind of interesting that Joe Girardi had mentioned. Are pitch counts really working? And I thought it was interesting that he said that because it's not like injuries are getting reduced. So that was something I was going to bring up earlier. So you know how this podcast.
What do you think about that? Because obviously it seems like how do I say this? If you allow someone essentially to only say go 90 pitches, right? Let's just say it's a Paul Skeens, and you would never in a million years go past 100 pitches because it increases the likelihood of injury. It increases the likelihood of being overworked, changed mechanics, right? That's the difference. Yeah. Now, if you never allow a pitcher to go past 100 pitches, ever, well, how physically can he be built up to do more than that? Is it possible that his threshold is now declining by changing what he's allowed to do? That's actually my opinion. I won't go too deep into it. I genuinely think that not letting people work on staying out onto the mound is actually working to our disadvantage. I really do. I believe that.
Well, think about this, Gary. Although you never go to the gym, so you won't understand what I'm saying. But you will. You'll understand. Damn. Look at that.
All natural.
So I do go to the gym every night, and I use the treadmill. So it's very simple. If you crank it up to 5, we'll say, which is like not sprinting to the point where you're like running for your life type stuff, but you're like, you're running, right? Or very heavily jogging, so running. If you do that one night and you haven't built up to that, you're going to be gassed, right? And you're not going to be able to do it for that long. If you're consistently walking and then you just decide to run one night, you haven't built up to that. So you can't do it for that long. If then all of a sudden you say, you know what? I like this running. I'm going to keep running every day. I'm going to ditch the walking. Kind of like going over and setting a new threshold. Now you've trained your body to the point where you can continue to run. You can run for longer periods of time than you used to. And then you also can walk, because the great thing is when you run a lot, it doesn't hurt that you walk. So the idea that I'm making here is that you can't just throw yourself into 125, 130, 135, 140 innings pitch count, right? Ugh, I said that perfectly. You can't just throw yourself into that. But if we start building up the starters to like 120 to 125, and that was the threshold and that was what was set, I think the injuries would remain exactly the same, because it is the most unnatural thing to throw a baseball. People need to understand that. It's not a natural thing for your body to do. So I think the injuries would stay the same, but I think we would just get more out of starting pitchers. I actually have a theory about this. I think they figured this out. I think they know it doesn't hurt, right? It doesn't necessarily help injuries. I think this is entirely to make the bullpen more effective. I think teams prefer to run that way. And look at the way Boone is, right? When he had the super bullpen, he was trying to use all three of those guys every day. Oh, starting pitcher that has like 88 pitches through 6 and, going into 7. No, he's taking you out. I have 3 guys. I'm going to go back to back to back, right? That's what I think has happened. I think that they have figured out that this is probably not the most productive way to use your starters, because it's not like it's getting them more innings pitched. It's not like it's getting them more starts, right? But what it is it's allowing you to use your bullpen. It's allowing you to be more consistent in that you can rely on different matchups and weapons out of the bullpen. It's actually giving more value to it. It's reallocating value to a different spot. That's kind of what I see. But again, I don't know for sure. I can't go too much into it, but do I think that starting pitchers could absolutely, if they were built up to it, pitch a max of 125 to 130 pitches a game? Absolutely. I just don't think they want that to be the league.
Yeah, I don't want my pitchers to pitch anything over 110 pitches on a normal basis, but I will tell you on special occasions, I shouldn't look at it like it's the damn devil itself. Because one of my starting pitchers, maybe a Luis Gil, right? Maybe a Carlos Rodon throws 114 pitches. Guys, we don't count warm-up pitches either. We don't count those. We don't count the pitches in the bullpen. No. It's not like they only threw the ball 100 times today. So
I know.
It's a little ridiculous. Nobody talks about that. Certain pitchers, there are a lot of pitchers who get out to the mound immediately. Paul Skeens being one of them. For those of you who watch his starts, if you watch the opposing pitcher, and I pay attention to all these details, I just love it, and I see a pitcher strike out the side and he's walking off the mound, guess who's sprinting right behind him? Who's already on screen touching the mound before commercial break even starts? It is Paul Skeens. Why? Because he likes to throw more pitches in warm-ups. Do they count those pitches?
No.
Do they? No, they don't. They only count the pitches that count in the game. So my point, really, if you're going to go out there and you're going to tell me, hey, I want you to maximize your velocity, I want you to maximize your stuff, spin rate. I want you don't have to go after hitters. You don't need to be efficient in terms of your pitch count, because our expectation is that you need to go 5 innings and maximize run prevention. We're okay with you being dominant for that short period of time. Don't worry about the rest of the game. We'll worry about that later. You worry about the here and now. Pitching 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, you would see guys like a Cole Hamels go out to the mound. They probably did have 97 in the tank. Maybe they're not going to have the same stuff you see today. I'm certainly not. But guys that threw 92, 93, some of those guys probably had 95, 96 in the tank, but they also knew in the first inning, they were thinking about, how do I get through this game to the 6th and 7th? How can I be there for this group? That's not really how pitchers are working. Now, in Clarke Schmidt's defense, he's starting to do the other thing. He's starting to get deeper into games, which you see the value of that. So my point, they're going to look at guys at 100 pitches like it's the worst thing in the world. If they throw pitch number 105, their arm's just going to collapse. But I can see why you would think that. When guys are trying to maximize velocity, we're so in tune to the fact that when they're at 89, 90 pitches, we're already starting to look at guys warming up in the bullpen and who's next, right? That's just how we play this game. Is it helping them stay healthy? I don't think so. I think that the thing that can help you stay the most healthy is trying to mechanically pitch correctly, mechanically be sound, and being sound will allow you to throw 110 pitches, and physically it won't feel like what earlier was 85. So, that's the final thing I'll say about it. I would love guys to be built up a little bit more than they are, but yeah, we won't have too much of a problem. We won 9-0. But Jake, let's get into our picks, because we've got another game tomorrow. We don't have an off day until next Thursday, and yes, Jalen Sestero, who's a member here, has been a member for a while. Thank you for that, Jalen. Says, is my phone broken tomorrow at 11:30? It is not. Set your alarm.
Sadly, no.
And then obviously Yankees Unloaded will be live very soon after that.
Yes.
And we look forward to it. So Jake, what's up with Prophet X?
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is it looks like it was for yesterday. I don't know why it didn't just update. All right, there we go. All right, first game of the day. Obviously, I don't think there's
Who do
a
we
lot
have
of
on the
games
mound?
starting on a level. So it is going to be
I feel like it would be Yarborough, no?
Will Warren
Oh, really?
taking on Dean Kramer. So, in case you guys are curious about Dean Kramer versus the Yankees, he's a 4-3 pitcher, 12 games pitched, 61 in the third innings. He's given up a 4.40 ERA. And he strikes out more than more than one an inning. So, yeah, that's who you're getting. As far as players that do well against Dean Kramer, you can look at DJ LeMahieu, who has the most hits on the roster. So I'm sure he won't be in the lineup for whatever reason. Every time I say DJ LeMahieu kills this player, they're like, yeah, he's out.
DJ will play tomorrow. He
will
definitely play tomorrow. I do believe Volpe will have the day off. I think they've just set it in stone. I don't think Volpe plays tomorrow. I would like to see
He's
him
not
play.
good against Kramer.
Yeah, so I think Volpe sits tomorrow. They can probably paint it as what happened with Kramer.
Jeez, Judge is going yard tomorrow. So he has
so I
5
imagine you
hits
like his
against
numbers.
Kramer. He has 4 home runs. I guess he just sees them really well. Stanton isn't great against Kramer, a 594 OPS. LeMahieu a 911 OPS. Judge has a 1578 OPS against Kramer. Austin Wells has 1,000. Oh, and Trent Grisham has a 1,906 at bats. So
All right, so for my over total bases, I don't care if I think he's not playing tomorrow. I'm committing to the fact that he should be playing. Ben Rice should play tomorrow. I'm picking
with
him
you
for
on
my
that.
over 1.5 total bases. Quit playing around. Quit playing with me. Ben Rice is a starter. I understand that his overall numbers maybe aren't everything you guys thought it should be, but if you look at what type of contact, what type of at-bats he's actually having, his versatility defensively, he can play first. He doesn't care if he DHs. He'll catch. He'll do all these different things. Find a way to put this guy in the lineup tomorrow. I want to see him out there. I'm picking him. I don't care if he's not playing. I guess you can scratch that pick if he's not, but he should be. And then Volpe, I think, sits tomorrow. And then if Anthony Volpe's in the lineup tomorrow, then I guess I'll tip my cap. I'll be happy about it.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to go with Will Warren strikeouts, whatever they are, because we don't see him right now. And I'm going to go with Ben Rice as well. Total bases. That's as simple as I'm going to make it.
Cool.
So, yeah, guys, be sure to use the code YANKSU when you sign up for Profit X. Also, be sure to well, that didn't work. Boom. There we go. Good Lord.
Subscribe for the giveaway, yeah.
Yeah, subscribe for the giveaway. Tell your friends, your family, your enemy. I don't know.
It'll get us there faster, because then if we get there faster, we'd much rather, I think our projection, we thought we'd get there probably sometime around September, especially with what we have teed up in July. We're very excited about it. But, yeah, it's in everyone's best interest for us to get to 10K as soon as possible, because, we don't want to wait till the winter to give this damn thing away.
Be like, oh, yeah, I gave away this jersey, and the Yankees aren't even playing anymore. So
we're eliminated from the postseason. Everyone's like, I don't even want a jersey anymore.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And what should they put in the comment section below?
No idea.
Oh, how
Absolutely.
about this?
Oh, I guess, does Anthony Volpe play tomorrow? You guys tell me. Should he play? Does he play? Right? Because there are a lot of people who are like, I don't care. He had 3 hits today. He had 2 Judy singles. He did hit a homer. Short
Volpe and
porch.
Rice.
You can certainly find a way to be unimpressed with what Volpe did today. I choose to look at the positive side of it and just allow it to be a standalone good event. I do. Let us know if you think he should play. Does he play? And who finds their way in the lineup. And, of course, like this video.